Imagine standing 90 feet up in the canopy of a dense jungle. Your only way down? To jump. That's exactly what a flying snake is about to do. For a newly hatched flying snake, there is no instruction manual and no parental guidance. Right after breaking out of their shell, these tiny reptiles face this massive plunge entirely alone. The first few attempts are usually pretty messy. They haven't quite figured out how to control their descent, meaning a lot of those early flights end in clumsy, less than graceful crashes into the leaves below. It becomes a high-stakes race. On one side, gravity is pulling them downward at accelerating speeds. On the other, their deeply hardwired instincts are trying to kick in before they hit the dirt. From the very first second of life, there is absolutely no biological safety net. To survive, they have to figure out how to master the air on the way down. Let's look at this vertical cross-section of the forest. The bottom layer, the forest floor, is effectively a non-stop buffet run by hungry monitor lizards and civets. The canopy above, however, is mostly empty space. About 20 million years ago, ancient, completely ordinary snakes tried to escape the predators climbing up after them by taking a desperate leap. Most became a quick meal, but a few figured out how to flatten their bodies just enough to steer away from the waiting mouths below. Those survivors lived to reproduce. Over millions of years of trial and error, they passed down traits that slowly widened their ribs and increased the flexibility of their scales. Millions of years of evolutionary trial and error are compressed into this single body, engineered to survive the plunge and avoid the dirt entirely. By age 2, the surviving snakes have matured into master aerial acrobats. Under optimal conditions, they can glide up to 330 feet, easily outpacing many actual winged animals in sheer glide efficiency. The launch sequence begins by anchoring the tail to the bark and pulling the body into a tense J shape. This turns the snake's entire muscular structure into a tightly coiled biological spring before snapping forward into the open air. This diagram shows exactly what happens next. In midair, the snake splays its ribs completely outward. This doubles the width of its body, transforming it from a standard cylinder into a flat aerodynamic surface. But catching the air isn't quite enough. To keep from tumbling, the snake performs a continuous S-shaped wiggle. It is practically swimming through the air to maintain stability and precisely navigate around branches and leaves. As the target branch approaches, the laws of physics start working to the snake's advantage. Its body naturally decelerates, allowing it to execute a calculated coiled landing rather than a violent collision. These physical mechanics transform the dense canopy into a three-dimensional highway system where every branch serves as a potential exit. With that kind of range, adult flying snakes aggressively control the absolute best real estate in the forest. From these prime, high-altitude branches, they execute perfectly silent, top-down ambushes on slow-moving tree frogs and lizards. This mastery of the air also dictates how they reproduce. When mating season arrives, males don't fight with bites or strikes. Instead, they engage in a high-stakes, passive-aggressive talent contest, showing off their absolute best aerial agility. The female sits quietly, acting as the ultimate judge of these performances. She will award mating rights based strictly on the male's flight confidence and physical maneuverability as they glide through the canopy. Once she's carrying the next generation, her survival strategy is remarkably stressful. She changes nothing. Even weighed down by her developing clutch, she continues her daily, high-risk hunting routine among the highest branches. 3 months later, she finds a hidden tree hollow, deposits its fully mature eggs, and immediately leaves. The cycle resets. This prime adult phase is brief. It's a sprint to exploit their mastery of flight, secure the best food, and pass on their genes before the inevitable wear and tear of aging starts pulling them downward. Fast forward 8 years, and the physical toll becomes obvious. The explosive muscular power required for that perfect launch starts to fade, and the snake's pristine gliding efficiency drops significantly. Those sweeping 330-foot flights across the canopy are a thing of the past. Now movement is reduced to cautious, heavy hops between adjacent branches just to avoid losing altitude. Because they can no longer defend the best hunting grounds, the younger, highly aerodynamic snakes quickly force the older adults out of the prime penthouse real estate. Pushed down into the middle, highly crowded tiers of the forest, the older snakes are forced to adapt. They abandon active aerial hunting, relying instead on complete stillness to ambush whatever happens to wander by. In this vertical ecology, your altitude is tied directly to your physical capability. The moment you lose your aerodynamic edge, the forest systematically pushes you closer and closer to the lethal ground below. Eventually, a completely routine hunting attempt, a jump the snake has executed thousands of times before, goes wrong. Its aging muscles simply refuse to lock into place. The body fails to flatten fast enough to catch the air. The crucial mid-air steering correction comes just a fraction of a second too late. Missing that target branch triggers a terrifying chain reaction. The snake loses its stability, resulting in a rapid, uncontrolled plummet straight down through the foliage. For the first time in its life, it hits the dirt, arriving exactly where the monitor lizards and predators have been waiting patiently for years. A flying snake's entire existence is one long, highly calculated defiance of gravity. It is a biological trick designed to buy just enough airtime to pass on a genetic legacy, before the laws of physics inevitably call in the debt.